What if MIENSHAO was in Gen 1 OU? Now we are so close to finally starting Generation Jumble Season 2. And all we have left is this guy and Iron Hands. Now I did a poll late last night, and I'm pretty sure between MIENSHAO and Iron Hands, you guys wanted to see Iron Hands more. And I can't really blame you, but I think it'd be much better to end these series of videos off with a bang. So we're gonna go over MIENSHAO first, and then tomorrow we will do Iron Hands. And that is going to be very interesting. But MIENSHAO is going to be interesting too, because in many ways, it kind of suffers from the usual problems you would expect the fighting type in Generation 1 to have. That just being, well, just low special defense and weakness of psychics. But outside of that, MIENSHAO stands, or is just, debatably just a very different Pokemon altogether. From Machamp, Hitmonlee, Poliwrath, and those are the only fighting types worth mentioning. Because MIENSHAO here, not only does it have good fighting stab, but it has good stats to really go with that as well. I think I said that very awkwardly, but who cares? Now, I'm not sure why so many things have like 125 in stats. I feel like this is the third time I've seen that now in just a week, which is funny. But obviously, that's a pretty great attack stat. And 105 speed is also pretty good. You're faster than Zapdos, which I would say is extremely relevant. Now, I will say, being slower than Tauros is a big problem for it. Not the worst thing in the world. However, you do wish, at the very least, you had a speed tie. But outside of that, I don't think it suffers too much from speed. Yes, it fails to outspeed Starmie and Alakazam. But to be honest, I'm gonna say you had a really bad time against those guys anyways. So I don't think it matters too much. I think outspeeding Zapdos is the most important thing, since, at least with Tauros, even if it's faster, there's still a major threat to it. So, overall, I'm gonna say MIENSHAO's stats are almost perfect. Granted, its low bulk is still gonna be a problem, but luckily it has a way around that. So overall, MIENSHAO, I think is very promising. I might change my mind tomorrow when I go over Iron Hands, but my prediction is gonna be MIENSHAO is gonna be the best fighting type, assuming Sneasel gets banned. And I'll be honest, I do think Sneasel is probably getting banned. I just think it's gonna be hard to see it survive. Which means, I'm gonna say it's mostly gonna be between MIENSHAO and Iron Hands. I think Zamazenta is gonna be good, just for specific teams, because of its sheer bulk. But I have absolutely no idea what Annihilate is gonna do. It could be an Annihilation, or it could be a Nihilover. We'll find out later. But this is by far the most honest of all the fighting types, I would say. Because instead of its gimmick being its raw bulk, or its ghost typing, or anything like that, it's just a fighting type, it's super fast, it'll go in, use like high jump kick probably, and you try your best to just use it and to like avoid getting killed because of its frailty. Which is what I think a fighting type in Gen 1 should be doing. Even though Iron Hands is going to be very cool, the fact that it's going to be very tanky, probably on the special side too, not exactly what you would imagine for a fighting type in Gen 1. But let's go over the moveset now. Now, luckily, MIENSHAO has a pretty good move pool for Gen 1. It doesn't have any special moves to really take advantage of its 95 special attack though, which is unfortunate. So I think for all intents and purposes, MIENSHAO basically has a special stat of 60. But luckily, it has good moves like high jump kick, 85 base power, so it's going to hit really hard. But it has low kick too if you just want that 30% chance to flinch. It'll have Poison Jab for Season 2 of Generation Jumble, but I don't think it'll be very good on it. And I think Reflect is a very slept on move. I think Reflect makes MIENSHAO so much better than it would be. It has Rock Slide too, which would probably be its secondary move if you don't feel like Reflect. It allows you to just hit Zapdos exactly, but even then, doesn't really do that much. So that's why I think Reflect will be better, because with Reflect, your physical frailty is obviously a lot more manageable. So that means Pokemon such as Snorlax, Rhydon, or hell, even Dropeg Zapdos don't hit you anywhere near as hard, meaning you can put up a much better fight against them. That's the reason why I think MIENSHAO having a 1 out of 5 speed and outspeeding Zapdos is such a big deal. Because it can outspeed Zapdos and basically get rid of its flying weakness. Obviously, you're still in a very bad position. It can crit and OHKO you, or it can just go on to do big damage with Thunderbolt. Not to mention, if they know you're going to go for Reflect, they might just start off with Thunderbolt anyways. So it's not foolproof, but I'm still going to say that it's worth it, because not only is it still good for Pokemon you're slower against, such as Rhydon or Snorlax, but if you manage to get it up before Tauros gets sent out, then your matchup against Tauros becomes significantly better. So you have that, minus maybe doing a third with Rock Slide, maybe doing 2/3 if it crits. I think Reflect is just going to be better in almost every single situation. But you can disagree with me on that if you want. We have Swords Dance, so it's obviously going to be very great at the move. With High Jump Kick and Hyper Beam, Swords Dance can pretty much take on what gives you the attack power to pretty much OHKO anything, I'm pretty sure. Obviously, you can't touch Gengar, and even a Rock Slide with a boosted Swords Dance won't do that much. Or, I mean, it will, but Gengar has like a strong Thunderbolt, or it could just go for Psychic. So the Gengar matchup is probably unwinnable no matter what. And I don't think there's anything else super relevant here. You technically have Jump Kick, which means that if you want a more accurate fighting move than High Jump Kick, that's only a little bit weaker, you can very well go for that. For my video on, what's it called? Mega Lopunny, I went over the conclusion that Jump Kick was probably better there because it's more accurate. And both Mega Lopunny and MIENSHAO are very fast and crit a lot. So Jump Kick very well might be the better move. I will say, however, that this is a generation where there's more than just normal types. We're going to be having other fighting types. We're going to be having Poison, Bug, Dragon. So there's going to be a lot more types that fighting will inevitably be hitting for neutrally. And if that's the case, I think High Jump Kick having a little bit more power might just be better. I could be wrong about that, but I think if you're switching into something and High Jump Kick's being hit for neutral, I think having just a little bit more damage will probably help. Not a lot, but sometimes games can get pretty close. And a 5% difference can just be what determines if you win or lose. But assuming we just go with High Jump Kick, Hyper Beam, Swords Dance, Reflect, and obviously High Jump Kick are what I would say is the perfect moveset for it. You can switch things around if you want, mainly just Rock Slide or Jump Kick. But I think this right here is the most consistent and can help you a lot. I will say, however, MIENSHAO is still a very frail Pokemon. So I think it's going to be one of those Pokemon that only very skilled players can get the most use out of. However, I do think that unlike some other Pokemon, which there's also a big skill level, I think it'll be rather easy for players to adapt and maximize just how they use MIENSHAO. But let's just get on to the replays now, shall we? Starting off with the boy himself, Tauros. And you're slower, which is annoying, but even without As you can see, even without a Reflect up, it does a lot of damage. But even with Tauros, there's always going to be that crit chance. However, it might still be worth going for Reflect in a worst case scenario. Actually, wait. Considering in that other replay, we saw Hyper Beam just like finish it off, you might have no choice but to go for Reflect. Which isn't the worst thing in the world. Because as you see here, you can technically beat Tauros. And to be fair, because MIENSHAO is so fast, there's probably a few things you can make use of with MIENSHAO if you retreat it. Because it's probably going to take out something faster. But, yeah, could go either way. Tauros, naturally, I think has the advantage because it doesn't need a setup. But as you saw here, at any time MIENSHAO can just crit and can OHKO. It has a better crit rate than Zapdos. So, something to think about. As well as a crit just OHKOing Snorlax. Just... like, do you know how much HP Snorlax has? The fact that MIENSHAO can just one-shot that is insane. And Chansy does not do much better. But first, I think it's worth noting, even without a crit, it does just insane damage. And I didn't talk about it in the preview, but status is definitely a big issue for MIENSHAO. It hates being paralyzed because of how frail it is. Not the worst thing in the world, at least against some Pokemon like Snorlax. And with just 2 Sword Stance, you already have max attack. But still, like, this replay was kind of weird. And I wasn't really expecting, like, Snorlax to survive, even with a Reflect. But it's probably fine. This is a very weird and specific replay. I think under most circumstances, your MIENSHAO is going to be fine. And obviously, the Snorlax player probably doesn't risk their Snorlax in the first place. So, maybe this is wrong, but I think Snorlax should be in the good matchup and not cuckoo either way. But you can definitely talk me out of that, because it's still a Snorlax at the end of the day. Very dangerous, no matter what it's facing. Unless you get a crit with high jump kick. And with Chansey, yeah, I think MIENSHAO and the other fighting types are going to make Chansey's life so difficult. To the point where, normally, in Gen 1 games, Chansey is obviously a must-have. But with how many fighting types there are, obviously the Psychic types are still going to be great. And I don't think the Bug types will be good enough to weaken them too much. So is there a chance that Snorlax, or more likely Chansey, won't be a part of the big 3 anymore? Who knows? But this is part of the reason why I'm glad we're going to make this season very long. Because there's going to be 2 tournaments. We're going to have, like, probably a week to where people can just play around with whatever they want. And then we're going to have a... 1 tournament. After that, we'll also have a change in the... with the viabilities. Things will drop to underuse, and etc. And after that, we'll have another tournament with the exact same Pokemon. And I think that will be the ultimate test to see what's actually the most optimal for the meta. And I am so curious to see if the big 3 will maintain their positions. I definitely think Snorlax will probably, and Tauros most certainly will definitely keep his spot as the best Pokemon. But I don't know about Chansey. I really don't. That 100% depends on what the best teams are. And I think with 2 tournaments, we're going to give people plenty of time to figure that out. But I don't think people need any time at all to really determine who wins this matchup. Alakazam versus MIENSHAO. I didn't even bother making another replay where the Psychic didn't crit. We both know this is a terrible matchup, and there's a good chance Alakazam just OHKOs anyways. The Cloyster you do much better against, and a lot better than I would have expected. I would not have expected high jump kick to just 2-hit KO, but I think that this shows just how hard MIENSHAO actually hits. And I think Cloyster, just like in Generation Jumbo Season 1, is going to be another Pokemon that's going to suffer. Because having strong fighting types is going to be annoying. However, I will say, a lot of the fighting types Cloyster is faster than, such as Iron Hands, or you have Zamazenta who can't really hurt it. So it's mostly just MIENSHAO itself that kind of makes Cloyster worse off. But if the other fighting types are better than Cloyster, or not Cloyster, MIENSHAO, I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen. I think Cloyster and Chansy are the two where I'm most curious to see where their viabilities end up. It's hard to tell. And that's why I'm excited that we're getting close to the Generation Jumbo finally kicking off. Now, Executor, I'm not even sure why I bothered making a replay. It's just miserable. Probably even worse than Alakazam. Because at least you can probably kill Alakazam in a very, very, very specific scenario where it doesn't kill you with Psychic somehow and you crit with Hyper Beam. You don't get that with Executor. It just demolishes you, no matter what. Sword Stance doesn't really help you either. Now, with Jolteon, I think both of these guys have damage ranges for 2-hit KOs. So I think it's a 2-hit to 3-hit KO. So could go either way, I guess. But this is also just a very weird case. I can't really think of many scenarios where you're having your Jolteon fight against your MIENSHAO. I just can't think of any reasons why you would send either one of them out against the other. It's just weird. Just like with a lot of different Jolteon replays. I don't know. Jolteon's a weird Pokemon. And Rhydon, like I said before, Reflect is really good. Especially for stuff like this. Because that Earthquake would have been a 2-hit KO either way. And now you manage to survive and you get this 2-hit KO Rhydon. You technically... Or actually, now that I'm looking at the replay again, if you're two-shotting Rhydon anyways, I guess technically you might have a little bit more health. However, I'm still going to say that Reflect is good here, because it means you can't just take out Tauros and Revenge go with Hyper Beam, and in general, it's just pretty useful, I think. So, I don't have any changes for that play. I think Reflect is probably good. Now, I think we skipped the Starmie replay. So this next one will be Slowbro. And I think MIENSHAO can take on Slowbro. Because you need 2 Amnesias in order to kill MIENSHAO in one hit. Which means MIENSHAO can actually go for 2 Sword Stance. And if that's the case, there's no doubt in my mind it can finish off Slowbro. So, I don't know if this is a could go either way or good matchup. Because Slowbro can't exactly go for Thunder Wave there. Because then that gives MIENSHAO an extra chance to go for Sword Stance, where it will most certainly kill the Slowbro. And I think a Slowbro is probably more valuable for your team than a MIENSHAO. So even if something else Revenge kills the MIENSHAO, I think you're probably worse off. But you can let me know what you think in the comments. Like I said, we skipped Starmie because it's just a psychic type of recovery. So last but not least, we have Zapdos. And you definitely enjoy being faster, but even then, Drill Peck is still a 3-hit KO, just like Rock Slide. So it's a bad matchup you should avoid either way, but I guess with a Rock Slide and a critical Hyper Beam or vice versa, I guess you could win the matchup. But I'm still gonna count it as a bad matchup, if I'm being honest. But here is the tier list. I think it's better than I thought. But for everything down here, besides Zapdos, this could be unwinnable, and I probably should put it there, but I'm not sure. Didn't make replays for Gengar and Jinx. Jinx, it's either you crit with Hyper Beam or Rock Slide or you don't. Not worth really showing. And Gengar, like I said, you only have Rock Slide, which even then might not even be worth using. And it doesn't help that Gengar's faster than you. But I think this is pretty good for a fighting type. I don't really think MIENSHAO can hold its place in the meta. But I'm going to see how it does against Iron Hands. But I think MIENSHAO will probably be the best fighting type. I guess tomorrow I'll tell you what I think about Iron Hands. Should be a lot of fun. Be sure to join the Discord so you can actually participate in the Generation Jumble. Keep in mind that there's no specific time. You just need to contact your opponent, and we'll probably give you like 3 days to determine a time with them, maybe more if you need it. So there's really no reason why you can't join, because you're probably going to have enough time. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, this is Groundback, and I look forward to hearing from you.